Hello! So, let's talk about Lily May and how to win against her on arena defense teams. Now, it's been a couple weeks since Lily May was released, and maybe you've noticed that quite a few teams on your server are running Lily May. So, I've done some testing on how to win against teams that use her on defense. Now, obviously, this is gonna depend on what heroes you actually have on your team to use against her. For example, I don't have Scarlita, but I would imagine that there is a good team against Lily Mays that use Scarlita. But I'm just gonna talk about how to win against her in general and give you some examples, and maybe even though you might not have the heroes that I have, you get some ideas on how to win against her. And then hopefully in the future, maybe in a couple weeks, I'll be able to do some more testing with different heroes, and maybe we can make another video on different heroes. But let's first quickly talk about why she's kind of good at arena defense. So the first and most obvious thing is that a lot of attack teams are using Aaron to like crowd control the enemies, but obviously Lily May's kind of main utility is that she is able to interrupt ultimates. So if the enemy team is bringing only Aaron, and Aaron will start the battle by using his ultimate, then the Lily May defense team Lily May will interrupt the Aaron's ultimate. And this has a couple of things that it affects. So first thing is that usually defense teams that use Lily May, they also use Thoran. So one way to kind of control the Thoran when you're attacking against Thoran is Aaron, because Aaron will like move the Thoran around and will root him when the battle starts. But now if your Aaron's ultimate gets blocked by the Lily May, then obviously the Thoran can potentially walk up to your team, and then if you have a lot of like damaged characters, then it's possible that the enemy Thoran will just kill all of your backline. So that's one thing why I think Lily May is pretty good at defense. Then obviously if you are preventing the attacking Aaron's ultimate, it makes heroes like Ulmus, Arden, Carolina and Alsa a lot weaker, because they kind of rely on the Aaron ultimate to provide crowd control and group up the enemies. And then they have like additional effects, like Ulmus extends the crowd control of the Aaron, but obviously if Aaron doesn't do crowd control, then the Ulmus thing doesn't trigger as fast. And then Arden relies on getting his energy from crowd control effects. So if the Aaron ultimate doesn't go through, it will take a lot longer for the Arden to get his ultimate out and so forth. So that's why Lily May is kind of good in defense. Now, if we think about how you can then kind of counter Lily May, the issue is that she's quite hard to like directly kill, because you can't use assassins like Vala and Sylvina against her, because they can't target her when the battle starts, because she will go into like the either she will go into the interrupting ultimate, and while she does that she's untargetable, or she will start the battle with the ballet skill. I don't remember what it's called, bullet storm ballet or whatever, and that also makes her untargetable. So you can't start the battle by targeting her with the assassins, at least not reliably. And then you can't, if she was placed in some position that technically could be Rainier swapped, you can't even Rainier swap her, because once again she goes untargetable. She will still get the debuffs from Rainier, which makes her weaker to damage, but it can be still like difficult to kill her, because the actual like swapping of the positioning doesn't happen. And then because she jumps around so much, even if you get someone like Shakir or Odie next to her, or Alsa next to her, It's not guaranteed that they will kill her, because if she does like one of her skills that makes her untargetable, then they might switch the targets to other heroes. And then if she survives like long in the battle and there are like couple of enemies left only versus her, sometimes she can like solo multiple heroes, because of the way that some of her kills work, that they deal a lot of single target damage, and you know, she jumps around and it's hard to kill her. So I think for me the best ways that I've kind of found against her are area damage. So someone like Arden, Arden's ultimate deals a lot of area damage, so sometimes it will hit her as well and potentially kill her if they don't have enough like support healing. Or then the other way is that you have like really tanky team, and then you bring in one hero that has like high single target damage, someone like Odie or Vala, and then your team just tanks the enemy team until your Odie / Vala kills everyone one by one. And then, well, yeah, if you had someone like Scarlita, obviously you could probably bring Scarlita instead of like Odie and Vala and just stall until Scarlita comes down, and then hopefully Scarlita can kill the enemy team. So those are, I guess, the main ways that I've had success against her. So then I'm gonna show a couple of different teams and some clips to kind of explain how those teams work. So this is the most used team that I'm currently using. So it's two kind of like tanks in a way, like semi-tanks. So Aaron and Shakir, and then one kind of healer who also provides stuns and haste. So that's Damien, and then two kind of DPS characters. Arden for the AoE damage, so that he can potentially kill Lily May and just in general kill everyone. And then Bryon's role is to kill the enemy Toran, and also sometimes Bryon can lock on to the enemy Lily May and kill her, because Bryon has high single target damage. And of course Bryon's most important role is that Bryon also starts the battle with his ultimate ready, so then the Lily May will interrupt Bryon instead of Aaron. So that's the main team, and these are kind of like the enemy teams that I have used this team against. So usually they have these 4 heroes, and then one of these 4 heroes, or sometimes they drop Aaron and have like 2 healers or whatever, but mostly composing of these heroes. And then I guess if you don't have Shakir, sometimes if the enemy allows you to swap heroes, you can use Rainier instead of Shakir, or Rainier instead of Damien, or probably not instead of Aaron, because Arden relies on Aaron a lot. And then I guess you could use Toran instead of Shakir, but I haven't done much testing with Toran. I do have one clip that I can show you where I did use Toran instead of Shakir, and it did work, but I haven't done much testing, so I don't know how reliable Toran is instead of Shakir. Shakir is nice because first of all, he has factional advantage against many of these heroes, against wilder heroes, and Shakir is quite tanky, and he also has healing reduction, so he makes killing the enemies a lot easier for AoE damage and stuff like that. I guess if you had heroes like Havin, you could try using Havin instead of Damien. I don't have Lily May or Ulmus at Mythic Plus currently, so I haven't done much testing, but I would imagine that you can swap in Ulmus instead of Shakir, and that would work just fine. or then always you could use Scarlita, but you would probably use different team with Scarlita compared to this one in general, so I don't know if you really want to use this team with Scarlita instead of one of the heroes. And then you could use probably Lily May instead of Shakir or Damien. But right now I don't have these heroes high enough ascension to do testing, but hopefully I can do more testing in a couple of weeks, because I do have quite a few summons saved up for Lily May, so hopefully I can get these three heroes at least to Mythic Plus in a couple of weeks, so I can do more testing. And I haven't done a lot of tests against teams that run two healers. So 2 healers plus, for example, Toran, Aaron, and Lily May. So I don't know how well this team works against 2 healers. And then I haven't done a lot of testing against teams that use Olmos and Lily May. I think I have one clip against such a team that I was able to win, but not enough testing to say that this is reliable team against teams that use Olmos. So here are some of the fights or teams that this team can win against. So we can start with a team that I don't see this team quite that often, but you can see that they are all Paragons. Well, not all Paragons, but most of them are Paragon 1s, and they don't actually have any healers in this team. So against these kind of teams that don't have any healers, this team should win like 100% of times. I think I've won against this team every time that I've attacked this. So you just place it this way and it should be a win. The idea here is that if you place Bryon in this position, Bryon will block the Lily May's ultimate, so your Aaron will be able to ultimate everyone on the enemy team, and then Shakir will run up, and once all of the enemies are grouped, he will jump with his ultimate on top of them, and then hopefully Arden will kill everyone. And we have Damien here to make sure that Arden stays alive, and also provide haste buff, and we have enlightening spell just to make sure that Arden doesn't get crowd controlled by the enemy Arden. And then Bryon is also good against if they have like Toran at the frontmost position. Bryon can potentially kill Toran even before Toran can get his ultimate out, because Bryon has a factional bonus against Toran and has high single target damage, and also his basic attacks have energy reduction, so he's gonna, I think it's actually energy absorbent, but whatever, he's like stealing energy from Toran so that he can't ultimate. So once the Toran goes down, then your Shakir and Aaron will be able to walk past the Toran closer to the enemy backline. So let's take a look at how this fight goes. Okay, so here is a different variation of the enemy team. This one is using Damien instead of Scarlita compared to the last team. And they have confining spell, so whenever enemy team is using confining spell, you want to use enlightening spell to counter it, and you have your Arden on the spot so that he gets the enlightening spell. And then basically the strategy is same, that we just want to allow our Bryon to kill the Toran, and then Bryon blocks the Lily May, and then hopefully we can AoE everyone down. So let's take a look at how that goes. Yeah, so this is basically the same team with a little bit of different positioning, but just wanted to show that it's also possible that if the opponent allows you to do like a Rainier swap, you can just do the Rainier swap and have like Rainier instead of Shakir on your team. This one we are... I don't know if I would do the Rainier swap against any of these teams unless they allow you to swap the Arden, because Arden is like the most dangerous one in this team in my opinion. So if you can get like easy swap on him, then he will pretty much always die, and then there is not that much threat in the enemy team. I mean, there is still a little bit of threat with the Toran and Lily May, but this should be like fairly safe thing to do. And yeah, so let's take a look at how that goes. So then this is not a common variant, but this is just something that I saw. So they have, instead of like Toran, they have Shakir in the team. And so this placement is, well, same heroes basically, but this placement is a little bit of different because I wanted to... I think I tried with the other placement and I might have lost that fight at least once. So I think that's because if you have Shakir here, he will go like forward alone, like really forward alone, and then there is the enemy Arden, Lily May, and Shakir, who will all target your Shakir. So the enemy Shakir will give healing reduction to your Shakir, and then potentially your Shakir will just die before he gets his ultimate. So if you place your heroes this way, it will kind of spread the damage a bit more evenly between all of your heroes, and your Shakir won't run that much forward. So yeah, let's look at the clip. And then we have this double healer variant without Aaron at all, but they have like a really high investment, plus 20 Lily May and plus 20 Scarlita. And this, like I said, I haven't done that much testing against the two healer version of this, and so I'm not gonna say that this team will win every time against that team. Probably it won't win every time against this team, but in this specific case we were able to win because of the placement of the Haven. So because the enemy Haven is placed here in the most forward position, it means that we can choose to place our Aaron here instead of normally placing the Bryon in here. And the idea is that the enemy Lily May will hit our Aaron, so our Aaron won't ultimate, and that means that all of the enemies are not pulled together here. So the Haven will stay in this frontmost position instead of being pulled here. So Haven is away from the Damien, so she doesn't get any healing from Damien, and she doesn't get any haste buff from Damien. And also, because she's like the first enemy here, Arden has a skill that roots 2 of the frontmost enemies after like 1.2 seconds when the battle starts. So if Haven stays here, she will be also rooted by the Arden. And because she's not hit by the Aeron ultimate when the battle starts, she won't get that much energy. So it will take a really long time for the enemy Haven to do her ultimate. And before that happens, we can just like do a lot of damage to the other heroes. So yeah. Okay, so here is another variant of the team. So this one is using Scarlita with Damien. And with this one we're basically using the same team, but instead of Damien we are using Rainier. And the idea here is just that we are with this placement because the Bryon is so far forward. Bryon is not gonna be moved from here because the enemy Aeron's ultimate won't hit Bryon. It will hit all of these heroes. And then the Shakir and Aeron will walk towards here, or potentially Aeron will walk here. But if we had Damien here, Damien is not getting as much maybe, or we are not benefiting as much maybe from Damien in this situation, because he would be kind of only healing the Arden. Now obviously he still provides Arden with haste and he can do the stuns, etc. But the stuns are not even that impactful in this one, because the backmost heroes are gonna be like Thoran and enemy Damien's cart or whatever, so the stuns that the Damien provides are not as useful against this team. So we chose to test using Rainier instead of Damien. Now this is a little bit risky because it means that we don't really have any healing in this team, but aside from the small amounts that Rainier maybe provides, but this means that our Arden will be more tankier. The enemy Scarlita will have a damage reduction buff, and she will take more damage once she lands down because she has the Rainier debuff on her. And then our Arden will also do more damage because Rainier also gives damage buff. So we hope that we can kill all of the enemies before the Scarlita comes down, and then because the Scarlita is weakened by the debuff, then hopefully we can kill her as well. And then enemies running confining spell, so once again we have enlightening spell. So then, like I said, this is, I think, maybe the only team that had almost and Lily May. And I was just using the same kind of team here, except that the placement of the heroes is a little bit different. So we have, instead of the usual Bryon in here, we have Shakir here, because I don't want Shakir to be pulled in by the enemy Aaron's ultimate, because then Shakir would be rooted by the Olmos. No, maybe it's okay actually to have Shakir here, because he would probably survive from the damage, so it could probably work with Shakir in here and Bryon in here instead. But that's just the way that I tested it, and it was working. So Shakir will run from here to the enemy backline, hopefully kill the Carolina. And then we have Arden on Enlightening once again, so that he doesn't get crowd controlled by the Olmos. And then just Bryon to tank the Lily May's ultimate, and then some healings from Arden. Now, I'm not 100% sure that I would win this fight if the enemy had higher Ascension Lily May. No, I mean, this is still at least Mythic Plus Lily May with plus 10 weapons, so it's not like it's yeah, it's still a plus 10 weapon, but I don't know how it would go if it was a Supreme Plus. And also I don't think that Carolina is the best option. I would rather use Arden instead of Carolina, so I don't know how that would work either, but yeah, let's see how this goes. Okay, and then we have kind of final show of, instead of Shakir, I tested using Thoran with this team. So I didn't want to, so this is a little bit different placement, because I didn't want to have Thoran in here, because there is a risk that if you have Thoran in here, then it can be that he will be pulled into here by the enemy Aaron's ultimate, and then the enemy Thoran will just walk up here. So that's a little bit of a risk. So I had it so that our Thoran will walk to the enemy backline, and hopefully he can kill someone like the Arden and Lily May with his ultimate. And yeah, let's see how it goes. Okay, so that's the team number 1, which is utilizing the Bryon. Now, if you don't have Bryon, then this is another team that I have been testing, and this has had some success. This one is using, like I said, instead of doing like AoE damage, we basically have really tanky team, and then we just bringing someone like Vala to kill the enemies one by one. Meanwhile, our Coco and Rowan, basically the Rowan is there to boost so that Coco can ultimate faster, and then Antandra and Shakir are tanking, and we get like a nice factional bonus from 3 Maulers and 2 Light Bearers. So what the team that I've been mostly using this against is this kind of Scarlita team that has Thoran in here. And yeah, like I said, the idea is that we are using Shakir. Shakir will run to the enemy backline and hopefully kill the Lily May and maybe the enemy Aaron, and then Vala will also focus on someone on the enemy backline. Now, like I said earlier, Vala can't actually target the enemy Lily May with her ultimate, even though it shows that she is targeting the Lily May. When the battle starts, Lily May will go into like the untargetable mode, and Vala will actually target the next closest enemy, so that's Damien in this case, but Damien is a hero that cannot be targeted by Vala. So actually Vala will target Aaron, which is, I don't know if it is the best target, but we do want to kill Aaron as well, so it's fine, I guess. And so hopefully with the Shakir and Vala targeting Aaron, we can kill Aaron. And then the enemy Thoran will kind of walk here, because we don't have anyone like our own Aaron to pull the enemy Thoran to the middle. So he will just walk to our backline. But we don't really care about that much, because we don't have any damage dealers in our backline. So these are the heroes that are facing the Thoran, but Vala is focusing on here, so she's not gonna be doing any damage to the enemy Thoran. And then we have just these 3 heroes kind of doing their own thing. So the Thoran is not really a threat for our team, and because the enemy is not running confining spell or anything, we can actually use awakening spell to give more healing for our team, and more awakening spell also gives defense buff, or like not a buff, but just gives like 20% physical resistance and magical resistance, I think. So we are more defensive against the Scarlita coming down. And then one thing that's quite interesting, if you don't have Aaron, you have to remember that the Scarlet, the Lily May will interrupt your ultimates, which is annoying. So if you have this kind of team, she might interrupt your Shakir ultimate, which is really bad, because your Shakir relies on his ultimate a lot. So Shakir can usually ultimate quite quickly, but if you don't have like Aaron to take the first interruption, or then the Shakir is usually the first, like the second one to ult. So then Lily May would interrupt Shakir, which is not good, because you want him to ultimate. So that's why, also partially why we're bringing in Antandra, because Antandra actually starts the battle with 300 energy. So she only needs 700 energy to use her ultimate, and she will be hit by the Aaron's ultimate, whereas Shakir won't be hit. So the Aaron's ultimate will hit this one, so Antandra will get a lot of energy from that as well, and she will usually be the first one to ultimate actually, so then the enemy Lily May will interrupt Antandra instead of Shakir, and then Shakir can just run here and do his ultimate, and then your other heroes can do their ultimates afterwards. Now there is some, like, I wouldn't say that this team will 100% win against this enemy team, because when there is Scarlita in play, bad things can happen. So if, for example, just before Scarlita comes down, your Coco would ultimate. Usually, if your team has Coco ultimate, Scarlita can't like one-shot them. But if just before that happens, the Lily May interrupts your Coco ultimate, then it is potential that Scarlita will just kill your team. But you can still, like, yeah, it's not 100%. And also, of course, it matters what is the investment of the enemy's Scarlita. If they are like Supreme Plus versus Mythic Plus and plus 20 versus plus 15 or plus 10 or whatever, that of course plays a role in it as well. But let's just take a look at how this goes. So here is basically the same team, but with a little bit more invested Lily May, so plus 20 Lily May and plus what is this, plus 15 Supreme Scarlita, and once again it's a win. So then here is a completely different team that you probably don't see that often, but they have not that high invested Scarlita. Once again, this is what is this, Supreme plus 15, and then like Mythic plus Presto, but they have like Paragon Lily May with plus 20 weapon and plus 20 Vala, so this is like still quite high investment team, and we are using the same team once again with a little bit of different placement. So we are blocking the Vala with our Antandra, even though technically she has a factional weakness against the Vala. She can still like tank it quite a well. All of these three heroes are only plus 0 weapons, so this would obviously be even stronger team against the enemy if I had like plus 5 or plus 10 on my heroes. But yeah, we were able to win against this team. And then basically this is the same team once again, but with higher invested heroes. So this time they have also Paragon Scarlita, and they have Supreme Plus plus 20 Presto. And against this team, this because of such a difference in power level, this team, my team, will not win 100% time. I'm not sure if this team will even win 50% of the time, but I have won against this team as well, so we have a replay of this here. And yeah, so this is a variation of the kind of like using Vala Shakir combo to kill enemies now. This is not the same team anymore because we don't have like Rowan and Coco in here, but just to show that Vala can be used with like Shakir and Aaron sometimes. If you have like a direct line on the enemy Arden. So with this one, because we have a direct line on the Arden, we are able to win with just this Vala pick here. Oh yeah, one thing to note about these teams, if I forgot to say it earlier, is that this placement is kind of bad because they are using enlightening spell, but if you do, if the enemy Lily May doesn't have anyone to interrupt at the start of battle, because we're not bringing Aaron in here, so she doesn't have anyone to interrupt. She will use the bullet storm skill or whatever, and she will go untargetable, so the enlightening spell will not actually hit her because she's not targetable when it happens. It will hit Damien instead, and it's kind of wasted on Damien because Damien doesn't need protection from crowd control, and like attack speed doesn't really benefit him that much. So if they want to place their heroes that way, I probably wouldn't use enlightening spell on this one. But yeah, if she does start the battle by interrupting someone like Aaron, then she will get the enlightening spell. But yeah, I don't know, just something to note. that if you see placement like this, it's usually good for you, because if you don't have Aaron, it will go to Damien. So then lastly, I'm gonna show a couple battles using Odie. Sometimes you can use Odie as well. So with this one, the idea is that we're not bringing Aaron. Oh, sorry, we are bringing Aaron, but Aaron will just be interrupted. So Toran will walk here, and he will hopefully be stuck fighting our Aaron or Shakir. Sometimes Shakir might go here, but sometimes Shakir will go here. But anyway, Toran will be kind of stuck here, and then these two heroes hopefully will provide us with enough tankiness to survive, and then Odie will kill the enemy, first the enemy Aaron, and then after that like the Damien card, and hopefully after that the Lily May. And then we have enlightening spell. Sorry, they have enlightening spell. Once again, it's kind of wasted on this one. Or actually, in this one it will go to Lily May, I think, because Lily May will start the battle by interrupting Aaron. So it's not like completely wasted in this one. Attack speed plus crowd control is nice for Lily May. But we are just bringing enlightening in the hopes that sorry, the confining spell. I don't know if actually confining is better than awakening spell. Awakening might be better, but this time I chose to test the confining spell, so let's see how it goes. Yeah, and then we have another team with kind of similar idea. So the idea is that Shakir will go here, and hopefully the enemy Toran will focus on our Shakir, and that means that the Aaron will walk here, and hopefully our Odie can kill the Aaron. And then we just have someone like Bryon here to pull the enemy Lily May's interrupt, because if you don't use Bryon or Aaron against Lily May, then your Odie will be usually, or Shakir will be the first one to ultimate, and you don't want Lily May to interrupt either one of those, because if Lily May interrupts your Odie, the damage that Odie does is like, it goes away because pretty much all of Odie's damage is kind of tied into his ultimate, and he will start the if you have him at a plus 10 weapon, he will start the battle with extra energy, so he's likely to be the first one to ultimate. So if that gets countered or interrupted, then that's really bad. And the same is, like I said earlier, it's bad if Shakir's skill ultimate gets interrupted, because his survivability relies on his ultimate. So that's why we are bringing Bryon. No, I don't know if this placement is actually the best. I would probably instead place the Coco in this corner, but this is just what I had, and it was just barely able to win, I guess. And then one potential way to win against Lily May teams is the Odie swap strategy. So the idea here is that Shakir runs to the enemy backline, Odie gets swapped into the enemy backline, and then hopefully Odie and Shakir combined can kill all of these heroes, and then the Arden, and then someone can kill the Toran, and then our Aaron will be interrupted when the battle starts, but then Aaron will be pulled into here, and hopefully he will stop the enemy Toran. And yeah, this is not like 100% a safe win, but it can also work. One thing to note is that the swap, if you are swapping, if the enemy Lily May interrupts someone when the battle starts, so Lily May will interrupt Aaron, then she will go back to her starting position, and about that's when the swap will happen, so Odie will be placed here. But if she didn't do the interrupt, if you didn't have someone to interrupt when the battle starts, she would do the skill that makes her untargetable, so she would be like kind of bouncing around like this area for long enough that the swap would happen, and Odie would be kind of swapped somewhere like around this area instead of here. So you kind of need someone to be interrupted for this strategy to work. And even then it's not like guaranteed, because sometimes your Odie can die to the enemy Arden, and then you just won't be able to kill the Toran afterwards if your Odie dies. But this can still work.
New foes, new challenges.
So yeah, that's some ways that you can win against Lily May. And like I said, a lot of this depends on what heroes you have, and I'm sure that there are plenty of other teams that can win against Lily May and other strategies. And yeah, maybe once I get more heroes, I can test some other teams as well, and hopefully we can make another video on how to counter Lily May, because I suspect that she will be quite visible in the arena, because of so many people are pulling her for the Dream Realm right now. So yeah, thank you for watching, and see you next time.